A brief introduction to the event. The webinar we have today is organized by Switch India. Switch India is a healthcare organization founded in 2016. Impact is of one of its kind and first mental health conference, which is an initiative of Inside Out, the mental health unit of Switch India. The primary focus of Inside Out is to improve mental health and overall mental well-being. As humans, we are innately competitive. It is this desire to come out on top that drives us to succeed, propelling us to push beyond our perceived barriers. It is said that a competitive spirit drives you to be better, deliver a higher level of performance, and ultimately lifts you to be the best version of yourself at any given day. If left unchecked, it can leave us constantly feeling unfulfilled and inadequate. Competition can be a double edged sword. Healthy when it provides feedback about performance and improvement, when winning is not the sole primary objective, and when one learns about themselves under challenging situations. Under these circumstances, competition can teach invaluable lessons children typically do not learn in their classrooms. Unfortunately, it can also induce a frequent win at all times mentality. When winning becomes the only source of satisfaction, when feelings of self worth and personal accomplishments are linked with another a person's ability to do something, we know that it is a problem. Cooperative competition leads to self improvement and awareness of the benefit to rising the challenge of making the world a better place. That being said, we are delighted to welcome Dr. Sameer Parekh to conduct the webinar today. Dr. Sameer is the director of Fortis National Mental Health Program, Department of Mental Health and Behavioral Sciences at Fortis Healthcare. He has completed his MD in psychiatry from BJMC Ahmedabad. He is a well-known speaker and has spoken at various national and international forums on mental health. Dr. Parekh has authored several books, such as Raising Confident Children. I request all the delegates who joined us on YouTube to post their comments and queries and in the YouTube chat box, and a speaker will be addressing them later. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, and just confirming you can hear me fine. Are you able to hear me fine?
Yes, sir, we can hear you fine. Yes,
Perfect.
sir.
So, I was reflecting on the topic and I was thinking on the word hyper competitive world. And I was wondering, has the world actually become hyper competitive any more than what it was way back during my time? So, I passed out in 89, grade 12, went through the medical entrance, you know, and people of my generation would like to believe that medical education at that time with the 1.5 year three profs was a tough one. Even then the seats were less. Even then the competition was very much there. I don't think that the competitiveness per se has become hyper. I think what has changed is that there is so much of constant evaluation which is happening, whether it is through the digital interface, social media. What that has done is that almost constantly everything feels competitive, not just, let's say, certain aspects of your life. Let's say you are appearing for a job interview and you have a few hundred people, one post. Now that's also competition. But that spirit of competitiveness is now reflecting in so many parts of our life, almost any and every part. The clothes you wear, the social media posts you did, the number of likes or followers you got, the brand of phone that you are using, and so on and so forth. We don't even realize how we've started getting into a comparative zone of life, so as to say, at more than many spheres of our life. And that makes the world hyper competitive because we are also having a competition in places that we should be having. And that, I think, is the key for all you young people to understand when we talk about this world. And goes without saying, mental health has to be focused. If your mental health is not focused on, personal or professional success is not going to happen. Now, again, let me reflect onto this, taking you back in time. When I was in school, grade 11, grade 12, hadn't heard about psychology as a subject, did not know a concept of school counseling. None of that was there. But I now realize how our system rallied around to ensure that the right kind of psychological environment and the psychological sense of self was built, which gave the kind of skills for life which took care of mental health as well. So, let me give you a couple of examples. Since grade 7, my Hindi teacher pushed me to for speaking and doing public talks. So, from debates to poetry to extempore speech competitions and so on and so forth, that public speaking became a skill that I learned because of my Hindi teacher from grade 7. Similarly, my bio teacher would keep telling me, don't stop listening to music. Have you also gone to the sports field? In grade 11, grade 12, in grade 12, knowing I'm a medical entrance student, reminding me of that. My physics teacher reminding me and giving me a question that, okay, this question is for fun only. The school ensuring that you take part in sports and extracurricular activities. Friends helping each other, and every evening, even during grade 12, board exams, entrance exams, family ensuring that are you going to go out and play as well. I mean, those were also the days when you had neighborhood gardens to play a bit of cricket here and there. So when you now look at that aspect, what do you notice? Importance given to work life balance, importance given to physical activity and sports, importance given to building hobbies and skills, building your own whole self, complete whole self. All of that happening through the same educational system that exists now. So, mental health was being taken care of, even though it was not really a talking point, a more specific, directed point that today, when we talk about having counselors in schools and colleges and so on and so forth. So, it's important to understand because a lot of times young people tend to think that, oh, the world's changed so much, and it has. But that doesn't mean that it has only changed for the better or the worse. Some changes have happened. Some of them may be qualitative, some of them may be quantitative, yes. But there is a learning from both the past and something that happens now, and learning needs to be a constantly evolving process. Transition, adapting to it, changing with it, that's taking care of your own self. And I think that's something all of you must understand when we talk about this whole aspect of how do we take care of our mental health, especially in the kind of world that we live in. Now look at, let's take two, three examples here. Let's take an example of a school student. I'm using a more pre-COVID example here, and some of it does apply during the COVID times as well. School, extra class, entrance exam class, homeworks, tuitions, very little time left for any kind of outdoor or social engagement, mobile phone access, internet access, lot more texting, lot more digital interface, online gaming, online means and virtual means of connection, staying connected, entertainment, all of that happening. Now that's what is happening. So here is where the pressure comes from because balance is getting impaired. Similarly, you pick up, let's say, a medical student. Very similar. You may be a college student. You have, in my time, I tell you what my day was. First MBBS, if I remember, we had the section on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, and Monday, Wednesday, Friday was our physio and some of those other things. So you go to the college, you reach 8, 8:30, 12, you have your work till about 12 to 1, then you have a lunch break, then you have a 2 to 4, then some practical, 5, you're done. You spend some time with friends, and then you start working, and that becomes a cycle. And you were working. We would have some sports a little bit here and there when we could manage, but a lot of focus on learning, wanting to read journals, aspects happening. We did not have, and I'm so fortunate throughout my BBS, we did not have a mobile phone. We did not have that this kind of access to internet. And even when I was a resident in psychiatry, this is about 97, 98, we used to make presentations on those sheets where you'll have those markers and you write it and put it on a projector on the screen. Now, what happened was that with the advent of and the intrusive advent of the virtual world, it almost became as though we were living two parallel lives. A life which is the life which is in our physical space, and the life that we were looking at in a virtual space. And unfortunately, that balance got lost. So a lot of things became important that weren't very important at the cost of things that were really, really important. And that's what happens. For example, if I'll ask a young student today a question, a lot of young people who work around us, a question that they'll not know, their first reaction is to pick up a mobile phone, Google it, tell the answer. Now, what happens is they at that moment feel they know the answer because you would like to believe that the phone is a part of your body, which actually is not true. But your mind did not get enough space to process that answer, have a clearer encoding staying there in your brain that can be brought out again in future, but a false perception that I know it because I was able to answer by looking at it. And that becomes a pattern. It is these pressures, it is these aspects of modern day life which have put a whole different kind of pressure on young people. And that's why conversations around mental health need to be given so much importance. And it's a very good thing that you, as students, are understanding the importance of it. Because if we don't accept the need and then prioritize and then conceptually understand and then finally implement it in our action, all of that needs to be understood. So let's look at the other two aspects of what the topic is, the aspect of minimalism and decluttering. I feel that COVID did teach us minimalistic living, didn't it? We did realize that we were giving value to a lot many more things that we didn't need to. We realized that we could live within our own spaces in a comfortable way. We could take care of our own home. We could take care of our food. We could take care of our own selves, our clothes, and so on and so forth. We could take care of home, support our family. These were learnings we had. The fact that you could actually have a year and you could be fine without going to a mall, without going to a restaurant. There are so many aspects of our life which we realized was so much more important, taking care of home, realizing that how hobbies matter, how meaningful relationships matter, how connectedness matters, how taking care of your own self matters, trying to do more introspective, mindful things. That component of our life was so important. And in the hustle, bustle of what we've been over the past few decades, we realized the difference. You know, before COVID, young corporate working, young adults who used to come and tell me that, sir, I don't get time for myself or my family. I don't get time for hobbies. I don't get time for my own self. I wish there was a day or two work from home. I wish there was a variable schedule available, so on and so forth. And then COVID happens. And then we say, oh, but how do I stay home the whole day? I don't know what to do. I wish I could go back out there. I wish I could go and do this in the physical space. Then when work from home became a more hybrid situation that like it's now on, we are now going out, oh, how do I go back? And how do I manage it? So on and so forth. So just reflect on this, calmly introspect on this. In all situations, we were looking for a perceived greener pasture. Or another way to look at this is in all situations, we were being more critical of our own situation rather than looking at a proactive, positive, optimistic outlook of where we are. Use it to bring a sense of positivity, energy, to direct, redirect, and take our lives forward to a destination that we want to be, realizing that there will be various ups and downs, bumps and speed breakers, so on and so forth. Now, that is what needs to be understood. To do that, how do you do? You will need to declutter, and you can't declutter unless you realize the importance and priority of things in life. What would be the key pillars of life? Ask yourself that question. The key pillars of life. Number one, social support. Nothing beats it. A difficult outcome vis-a-vis a less difficult outcome in COVID. Big differentiator, support system. If you had family, friends, colleagues, relatives, alumni helping you out when you were going through a quarantine or an isolation phase or when somebody was unwell, your outcomes, both mental health and physical health, would be so much better than those who experience not having significant others to support them. So, the biggest pillar of your life is support system. Here, the support system needs to be redefined into meaningful relationships. It could be your friends, family, cousins, extended family, relatives, colleagues, seniors, teachers, mentors. You decide on that, but meaningful relationship, which is unlike the number of followers, the number of likes, the number of shares. It truly doesn't matter, does it? You are having, let's say, a conversation, or you and I are having a conversation right now. How is it possible that if there is an X number of you, all 100 out of 100 would absolutely feel that whatever is being said, you agree to it? How is it even possible? You're all different people. Some of you will agree, some of you will have partial agreement, some of you have a complete disagreement, and that's all fine. Now, what do you do with that disagreement is the question. If you express the disagreement in a troll way, in a nasty way, in a mean way, in a negative way, in public domain, or in a way that brings negativity in you as well, or it brings negativity in the space where you exist. That's where the problems start trickling. So, how do we build meaningful relationships? And how do we ignore the not so meaningful aspect of our life? This is something that all of us need to understand. In today's world, where negativity, trolling, bullying, cyberbullying, so on and so forth, a lot of aspects have become day to day experiences for us. So, what do you do for that? Do you stop being on public forums and social media places? No, you don't do that. You be there. You realize to learn to filter the sense from the senseless, the meaning from the meaningless, the positive from the negative. Whilst you are willing for feedback and learning, but you filter off the unnecessary negativity because there is no other way. Putting in your energy into somebody else's negativity is only going to bring negativity in you. So, social support is your significant pillar. Please invest in relationships. By the time you'll be my age, you'll realize that some of your biggest support systems, besides your family, are going to be your school and college friends. This is a unique bond of togetherness. So you reflect on that and build social support systems. The second aspect to build this pillar, to bring, to declutter the useless and focus on what matters, is have a sense of priority in your life. So let's take an example. Like right now, you and I are having a conversation. So obviously, I have switched off my mobile phone. I don't have music playing here or people roaming about here or television going on there. What have I done here? I've ensured that my focus stays on our conversation, which means I was able to understand and prioritize that my attention needs to be in one direction, unidirectional attention. Now, here, If I would have decided to also keep texting, also start doing something here or there, how could the efficiency be the same? So you need to understand you'll have to prioritize. You'll have to prioritize when you switch off your cell, when you digital detox, you'll have to prioritize your physical activity, you'll have to prioritize the one, two, three, four of life. I say this often. One is what's important and needs to happen right now. Two is what's important but can happen later on. Three, what's not important but may need my attention right now. And four, which is neither important nor needs an attention right now. Now, this is how you understand. So one comes, then two comes, then three comes, then four comes. You don't swap it. You don't focus on the unimportant and can happen anytime at the cost of something that's important and needs to happen right now. So decluttering is also about the choices you make, the prioritization that you do. And you need to know if you have an exam coming in a couple of weeks' time, you study. But uh, if your friends need to go and have a party right now, and you think that it will take away several hours, and for you right now these hours matter because an exam is coming, you choose the exam because that's a priority. At the same time, you can always tell your friend, hey, we can do the same fun after a few days. Your priority. Very similar comes to other forms of pressures that you go through. Substance abuse needs to be understood. How do you prioritize yourself over somebody else's push? The need for conformity. People will want to make herd out of you by asking you to confirm all this should be like this only. This should be like this only. This aesthetics of a post need to be like this only. This is what works. This color is okay. Having this substance makes you cool. Having this substance gives you concentration. Rubbish. You pick yourself, your health, your well being as a priority. Now, that is the true sense of decluttering because the noise is there. Noise is like vectors, so many vectors acting on us. Social media, friends, seniors, family, everything is happening. It's like while you are listening to a song on a platform and you have pop-up of ads coming and you ignore them because you want to listen and focus on the song. That's how you understand this. So picking up the right social support system, which is your one step, learning how to prioritize and giving value to your own self. Now, when I say giving value to your own self, it does not mean becoming an egocentric, self centered individual. That's not the idea. Prioritizing self means I have enough compassion for myself that I indulge in adequate self care so that I can take care of my responsibilities, my goals, and my significant others and people also. So, compassion both for self and for others. Altruism, but with taking self care. Both are equally important, doing things for others and ensuring that you take care of yourself so that you can do your roles and responsibilities so much better. It is these aspects of our life which need to be understood. And then your other way to look at successful life, your mental health, is building skills, empowering yourself with skills for life. When I gave you the example of my Hindi teacher, the skill for life was public speaking at that time. More importantly, confidence of being in front of others. It gave me better social communication skills through my Hindi teacher. Physics teachers answer this for fun only. What did that become? That became enjoy the process of whatever you are doing, even a difficult answer that you can't decode or take a crack on. Enjoy the fact that I didn't. I remember before my exam, uh, my diploma exam, which was pre MD. My teacher was going to be one of the examiners, and he had this thing that he'll ask those 10 questions and let's see who answers. I told him I'm going to answer all 10 of them. No matter what happens, I answered nine. And I told him that, but you had promised us that you were going to ask us from something you've talked about at least in the last 2 years. He said, well, you forgot, but I did talk about this and I have never forgotten that ever in my life again. But you enjoy that. And you're enjoying that because you've put in hard effort and now you want to enjoy the process of being tested and enjoy the process of being told, listen, you could have done better. That's the churning required. You don't need to be aggressive, defensive. You have acceptance of who you are, and the humility that I am willing to accept that I need constant change. I want to grow, I want to be a better individual, and I'm not God's gift to humankind. I need to keep chiseling my own self and move forward in life. At all stages of your life, I need to be a student, a learner. So, skills, problem solving, attitude, assertiveness, decision making, skills. And then comes the value of enjoying regular recreation, sports, music, expressive arts, plants, pets, what works for you. But you take time out for that. Because all of this that I said is there in a clutter like a bucket on you or arrows which are coming across on you. Now you need to pick and choose which one, when, how long, how much, and then when do I shift my attention in the multiple roles and multitasking that we have at a given moment in time, at each micro here and now, I need to be here and now. That is decluttering and realizing that there is so much more in life, and why minimalism helps is when I have minimalism. What it helps me is gives me so much more energy and focus to be able to invest into something that truly matters. And in this entire process, being able to enjoy it, have the humility to learn, have the positivity, optimism. That's the story of life. So, last few things before I start taking questions from you. My tips for you: unmute yourself, keep talking, keep sharing, open up, don't bottle it up. Unmute yourself. Friends, family need to be experts, but talk. If you are struggling, talk. If you want to do something, talk, share. Second aspect, it's our collective responsibility to ensure there is positivity. Avoid the meanness, avoid the need to be overcritical. Take care of your language, especially in the public domain. Since a lot of your lives will have so much time in the social media space, make it positive. I tell young people social media, the word is social, social, not asocial, not antisocial, social. What is social? Connectedness, positivity, advocacy, meaningfulness, enjoyment, all of that together, not at the cost of someone. That's how you build a positive, safe place that flourishes and helps people blossom. So you look at that aspect as well. Meaningful relationship, like I have been saying, beyond the likes and numbers, meaningful relationships. Prioritize mental health, be an advocate of mental health, of well being, promote mental wellness and well being at all levels. Expertization of mental health is not the solution of mental health in a vast country like ours. It's advocacy, self responsibility, and preventive community mental health is the goal, is the solution, because we need to focus on our ground reality, our base, so that when problems happen, we have help available, but we minimize the problems happening by building our skill set. And if COVID has taught us one thing, which is where I'll end and take questions from you, It's given us a lot of learnings. One, minimalistic living was always possible. Two, we are a very, very adaptable species and we must continue to be willing to adapt, be willing to change, be willing to learn. Three, if there was only one thing in our life that was important was together we can. If we feel a sense of togetherness and not an us and them, if it's always we, COVID has been an example of the we. You and I may be unrelated, but me not having COVID appropriate behavior could give you COVID, even though we may be unrelated, because there was always a we that we stopped noticing. Mental health is about the we and the eyes coming together, I taking care of each eye, becoming an us, and the we becoming stronger. That is the mental health solution for your generation. And on that note, I'd be happy to take questions from you.
Sir, can you hear me?
Yes. No, Ananda, you're
Firstly, thank
mute.
you, sir.
I can't hear you for some
Thank.
reason, so you'll have to type out, please.
Okay.
I'm not able to
Yes,
hear you
sir.
for some reason.
So I'll just cite out the questions for the audience and we'll simultaneously type it out as well. Can you hear me now? No? Okay. Uh, so there's a systemic way in which corporate functions today, including the need for employees to work out for long hours, including night shifts and clock-ins. So employees don't seem to seek the workout at health place because they fear that the organizations still do not see it as a serious issue, and for the fear of coming out is still high. How do you think that the fear of losing out on opportunities due to one being mentally unfit is linked to this hyper competition, and how do you think this problem should be tackled?
So you're right, and I think in your question lies the answer. It's a systemic problem which requires a systemic solution. It's not about individuals. In fact, what you've said here, I've been saying that for a very long time, that mental health outcomes need to be a measurement for success at any corporate, any workplace. Beyond P&Ls and EBITDAs, which have their own meaning, and I understand that, there has to be mental health outcome also. And this has to be a top-down approach. Organizations need to make safe space for communication on mental health. If they don't do it, you are quite right. I may have migraine, I'll come and tell my supervisor, I have migraine, need 3 days off, this is my prescription. But if I had depression, I may not go and tell my boss that I had depression. Now, that hesitation I'm getting is because I have not been given enough confidence by my organization that I can talk about it and I'll not be stereotyped. And that's what one needs to understand. And the solution is corporates need to do awareness, value mental health outcomes, have a robust program of skill building, ensure that they have engagement with experts at the right level, integrate health practices in the best manner, and we'll have to give ourselves a significant time and focus on awareness building in house for each organization as well, not just in the public space.
Thank you, sir. That was a very good answer. The next, as you mentioned about social media, so you mentioned about the importance of being friends and having school friends and having college friends. But as we move out of the spaces, we're gonna have to leave our schools and our colleges at one point, right? So how do we stay in touch? The only place where we can stay in touch is through social media, as you mentioned. But social media then brings out such unrealistic standards because of the like the pressure to always be trending, like following trends. How do you think that we can prevent that from happening and make social media a healthy space?
So, I'll give you the COVID example. There was a time when during COVID, social media really, really helped, where you could have Samaritans helping each other, telling about where a medication was available, where a bed was available. That's the power of social media. Social media also help people stay positive during tough times by every day these positive stories that we will reading. That also helps. Social media helps us stay connected with people whom we want to stay connected with. It's also a place where we can share and express our opinions. Unfortunately, it says sharing and expressing of our opinions sometimes becomes a cause of concerns because that's where lines tend to be crossed, which is where our concern is. So for me, social media is about advocacy. Whatever you matters to you, talk about it. Connectedness, keep people together. And frankly, it's about positivity as well. Why can't why can't we actually smile over a joke, a meme? Why can't we smile? But it doesn't have to be abusive. It doesn't need to run somebody down unnecessarily. It doesn't need to be a form of bullying. But we can smile. Social media, social. At the same time, I think it's also a little bit about, and you must understand the need of taking breaks and digital detox. The duration of social media is something that needs to be looked into because you always have your phone next to you. A lot of you young people even sleep with your phone switched on. I have never understood why. If you switch it off, the word will stay exactly where you left it. Don't worry, it's not going anywhere. And you don't need to half awake, just see, oh God, have I missed on a message or no, have missed on a notification, nothing like that. So be careful with your interface. And that's why I've been talking about media literacy. I think we should talk a lot about media literacy, especially in the social media context.
Thank you, sir. So, next question is regarding the entrance exams and the pressure they create on students. Because students who appear for pre-medical or pre-engineering, any entrance exams are very young students. They're very young, and because of such competition, it has become very heated topic recently, because because it has been said that it drives anxiety, or specifically test-related anxiety. What do you think, how can we avoid this, like how can we avoid this anxiety, and how can we work to get a better outcome out of this competition that exists?
I think two different aspects. Let's split two aspects of this question. One, the pressure of exams. And second, let's talk about student suicide and let's keep them separate. In my opinion, we've made monsters out of exams by the kind of public pressure that we brought to the exam. It's not that exams were any easier 20, 30 years back. I still remember my PMT when I took it in 89. Tough one. And if I look back at my life, and now I'm what, 50 plus, the toughest exam of my life was third MBBS, and there was some divine force that made me pass that exam, and there is no other way to understand that. For some of you who are medical students and you don't know what used to be MBBS during our time, when an exam came after 1.5 years, you have no idea, right? Tough, tough one. But it's about how we approach and help students in the approach of exam. We don't talk about study skills enough. We don't talk about exam skills enough. So if you learn how to go through exams, hone in your skills, approach it, we have help seeking behavior, keep learning, it'll be better. And no exam is a bigger exam than the next exam. No exam is a life altering experience. All exams will continue to have. This is an examination. You and I are having a conversation right now. I still need to answer the right questions. What if my teacher ends up seeing this interview and calls up and says that this wasn't correct? Where is the reference of what you just said? That's life. On a different note, I think suicides needs to be given a lot of attention. Every 40 seconds in the world, an individual dies of suicide. 700,000 people in the world die of suicide every year. 90% of suicides also have a strong correlation with mental illness, which is typically unidentified, untreated, or partially treated. So, and out of that, depression is the most common one. Identifying the red flags, creating enough helplines and resources that people can use when they are struggling, psychological first aid by all significant others to whom people talk when they are struggling, social economic support systems for people who suddenly go through major transitions in their life, early identification and treatment of depression, specifically integration with primary health care, suicide prevention helplines, national suicide prevention policy. All of this put together is the way forward for suicide prevention.
Thank you so much, sir. So we'll take one final question. So travel agency Expedia's annual vacation deprivation report in 2018 ranked India as the most vacation deprived country globally. The report has shown that over 75% Indian feels vacation deprived because their work dominates. They fear that they haven't been on a vacation in the past 6 months due to workload. Do you think that competition is making the supposed best time of our life shorter?
My take on this is breaks are important. Vacations are a part of a break. And sometimes, in trying to take a big bang vacation, we miss out on the opportunity of taking short breaks. Both have value. If I go back to my schooling years, summer vacation was an absolutely wonderful time. Imagine a world at that time. So, summer vacation was when you have 2 months, you come back from school, you're not going to school, you don't have phone at that time. So, your school friends you have no access to for 2 months. You have a strong support system of your neighborhood friends. Either you are visiting your cousins or they are visiting you, and you spend time with your family members and cousins. And you may have a break here or there, which typically used to be a relative or the other. The world's changed because it opened up, travel became easy, and we like to see places, we like to see newer places, everybody has their interests. But we also need to learn to balance this. Short, frequent breaks and short vacations and your big ones, all of them need to be spread across a year and years, is how you need to. And so when I talked about self care, this is a part of self care. Valuing a break, taking time out for yourself and your loved ones, that's the way you take it. So rather than saying that are we deprived, looking at what we can do about it. Whenever you look at statistics, given the population that we have, some of the numbers that will churn will always be a lot higher. And that's the way also to look at when somebody shares numbers with you. But yes, we should value taking offs and we should value taking a break here and there as much as we can.
Thank you so much, sir. With this, we come to an end. I would like to begin with a token of thanks to Switch India, Inside Out, and Impact Organizing Committee for providing me with this opportunity to moderate this event. I would like to thank Sir for this very informative webinar and for sparing his precious time to further our knowledge and for broadening our perspectives. I would like to thank my fellow OC members who made all the events possible. I thank you all for working super hard and making this and all the other events a success. Lastly, I would like to thank our audience for attending and actively participating and for providing Sir and us with such amazing questions. Please make sure that you fill the feedback form and that was shared in the YouTube chat box to be eligible to receive your certificate. Thank you. And with this, we end our session. Thank you so much, sir.